Welcome to episode 13 of the Book Brothers podcast. I'm Books Too Big, also Boots Too Big, all across social media. And with me tonight is my co-host, Mr. David Cardoso, aka Dr.
Dr. Professor Pixel.
Let me start. Let me do it again.
Usage.
Let me do it again. I'll get it right.
On
I
it
promise
again?
I'll get it right. Welcome to episode 13 of the Book Brothers podcast with me, Books Too Big, and my co-host, Professor Pixel. It's the only show where two guys talk about books. It's a novel concept, but dad jokes aside, David, what are we discussing tonight?
Okay, glad to be back, Adrian. It's been a little while. I'm
Yes.
Professor Pixel on YouTube. Name is David. The book we are discussing today is none other than this one right here, The Penultimate Truth by Philip K. Dick. Was this your cover, Adrian, of the book?
No, well, I did
You
a Libby library
Okay.
version. It's that orange, yellow,
Okay.
swirly cover, which is kind of cool.
Interesting. Okay. I like the cover of the book, actually. Maybe this is the best part of the book. I think you would think so, Adrian. We discussed this book a little bit while we were reading it. I picked this book just because I'm a fan of Philip K. Dick. A lot of his books have been made into movies. So like Minority Report and uh,
Blade
Do
Runner?
Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is Blade Runner. Yeah,
Right.
so Blade Runner was Electric Sheep and many others. So he's kind of been famous for a while. Like he died a long time ago, and actually a lot of the films that were made after he had already passed away. Kind of unfortunate, but still kind of cool that he's kind of a big figure in science fiction. So I wanted us to read. This is not one of his most famous novels, and so I wanted us to read it for that reason. I had read it previously, and I want to give it a fresh read through on the channel. That's why I picked it. He's really good with sci-fi and lots of crazy backstories, and he has a lot of really interesting ideas. And yeah, we're gonna dive in and discuss this one. So that's why I chose it.
The Man in the High Castle was apparently
Yes, and there's a
based
show.
on, right, the show was
Yeah, yeah.
based on it.
Also,
Total
really good.
Recall, I didn't know that.
Yes, that's a short story.
A Nicolas Cage movie called Next, I think I saw that years ago.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Obviously Blade Runner,
Hmm.
and
Those are the big ones. Minority
those are the big
Report and
ones.
Man of High
A
Castle. Yeah.
Scanner Darkly, too, apparently.
Yes, that's another novel. I might read that one. I might give that one a read at some point. But yeah, Penultimate Truth is definitely a weird one. Do you want to go ahead and give us the synopsis, Adrian? You have like the synopsis available with you, so you can kind
I
of
do,
go.
but what I wanted to say really quick was that I did a little bit of, just a little bit of reading about Philip K. Dick.
Hmm.
And apparently he died poor. Like by the time that he was making any money off of his
He's
movie
writing.
adaptations, like he was already kind of old and then he passed away. I want to say he passed away in the 90s, early 90s
I think it was.
or
I think it was.
early 80s.
I think it was the 80s.
Yeah, I
Because
think you're
yeah,
right.
he was not super old. He was. I think he was in his late 50s. So he was kind of young.
Yeah. I don't know what he died. I forget what he died from,
I
but
think he had a
yeah.
stroke. I think he had a stroke.
Um,
Look that up. Yeah, I think he had a stroke. But yeah, before he ever became famous, he unfortunately passed away. He
yeah.
first got a movie deal. I think Blade Runner was the first movie deal that I think he had got it, and the movie was released, but he actually died like the year prior or something like that. That's kind of unfortunate. He's definitely a big weirdo writer, so we had to dive into his stuff.
Yeah, and the book, so simply put, in a future where humans live underground believing World War III still rages on, one man discovers the surface is thriving and the war is a lie. As he uncovers layers of deception, the truth proves even stranger than the propaganda. So that's all great and all. Like the idea of that is there. Like I don't want
Yeah.
to crap on this book too much because the idea of what the story is about is actually more relevant now probably than ever. I mean,
Mhm.
rich people using a lie to protect their own wealth
Right.
and
There's a lot of
power.
rich versus poor. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that couldn't be more relevant in
Yeah.
2025 than any
Right.
other era. But the problem I had with this book was the execution. But you know what, David? You tell me first what you liked about this book, and then I will parlay. Is that the right
Yeah.
word? Into what I didn't like, and also what I
Yeah.
did, because there was some stuff I enjoyed. But
Yeah.
let's start with you.
Yeah,
Go
so I
ahead.
guess the big thing was like the setting, the worlds. Like Phil K. Dick is like a master of like worlds, I would say, and just intrigue and mystery. And so this one has like a lot of that. As you said, like people live in bunkers, and I guess I would say our main. I would say there's a bunch of characters. I'd say the main one is Nicholas St. James, and he lives in this underground bunker with these people, and we start off with him where the basic setting is that all these people live in underground bunkers, and they've been the government is telling them that there's been this big war on the surface of Earth, and this war has been raging for a long time and it's still raging. And there's also a lot of radiation on the surface. So if they were to go up to the surface, they would get like all these different diseases. There's like a variety of diseases that they talk about throughout the book that they would get. And so they know it's dangerous. They've been told this for years and years. I think it's about 13 years that they've been told this, that we learned throughout the book. So they've been living in these, these underground bunkers, and it's like very poor. There's, it doesn't go into too much detail about the living conditions, but you can tell it's kind of a poor environment. And really, the beginning is one of the guys is sick underground, and so Nicholas St. James has to go up on top of the surface to find like an organ for this guy, because there's also like there's so many ideas here in the book, and we'll dive into some of them here. But he has to like find an organ. So initially, it begins with you're gonna see my cat over there, but that's okay. But he's like searching for all these organs and stuff to try to like bring back to the people in the bunker because they're getting older. And so like this is like in the future where they have technology where they have artificial organs and stuff. And so that's his initial reason to want to go up to the surface. I really love that idea. I do think his execution is kind of poor on it in some levels, but I think that overall idea of like the government lying to them and then him having to go to this like surface. And when he gets to the surface, if some chapters in, he sees like the surface is he thinks it's radiated at first, but I believe he has like this special suit, and he takes off the suit and he realizes like he's safe. He hasn't died, and he's like, oh, I'm okay. And then he gets attacked by these droids called Leddies, and like the Leddies are these like androids that are protectors on the surface, which is pretty cool. So like there's this rich guy, they call him like Foot, I think it's Webster Foot, and so he has all these Leddies on the surface that like stop people from it's basically government control, so they try to stop people that come to the surface. That was a cool idea too. And then, well, it turns out that these Leddies get destroyed by this other guy, and then Nicholas St. James realizes that the government has been lying this whole time, and there's other people living in these other cities and other buildings, and so the world kind of evolves from there. So I really like that big idea. I don't know if you wanted to say something, Adrian. Well,
I was going to say your cat's trying to get into your fine china, so you should be
oh
careful.
yeah, yeah, he's fine back there. I don't think he's doing something. He's okay. But yeah, if I can continue, you can watch my cat in the back. Oh, there he goes. Okay.
Oh,
He heard you, Adrian. But yeah, so anyway, so he finds all these cities and stuff are actually occupied. And so like some of the people tell him, oh, it's been a lie, and these cities are safe. Ironically, some of the people there, they actually tell him like, oh, you should go back underground because it's actually safer there. They don't like living on the surface, so there's a couple of them that are like, oh, this is just as bad. Anyway, so then we jump to other characters, and one of probably the main villain is Stanton Bros, which I envision this like he's basically like a really ugly old guy, and he has like all these like artificial organs, and he can't hear at all. I thought he was like a very interesting villain character. I think you could do like a good casting. I don't know, what did you think of the possible cast of Stanton Bros? Like he's the most interesting visual character.
I was picturing. I can't think of his name. He was the guy from Succession, the dad, the old guy.
Okay, I don't know. Succession.
Brian Cox.
Brian Cox.
I was envisioning Brian Cox as Bros. I was envisioning, believe it or not, Adam Scott as Nicholas.
Okay.
I had Sam Neill in there as Adams. I think it was Adams.
Yeah, Joseph Adams. Okay.
One of the characters turns out to be Native American, and I had that one actor from Westworld, the Native American actor whose name I honestly can't recall.
Okay.
And who else did I have? I think I had Michael Shannon at some point, just because I like Michael Shannon.
Michael Shannon. Okay.
And I had what's his name from Parks and Rec, Ron Swanson. That I'm so bad. I'm so good with names, but so bad at remembering them.
Guy?
Yeah. That actor. I had him as the main Talbot Yancey, or what's
Talbot Yancey? Talbot Yancey.
Even though, and we'll get into this.
Yeah.
Turns out to not be a real person.
We'll talk about him. Yeah.
So.
Continuing along, but yeah, like the whole idea with Stanton Bros is cool too. He basically rules the surface level, and he has a bunch of other Yance men that they're called that they.
Nick Offerman is who I pictured. Sorry, I just got
Nick Offerman, yeah. But yeah, Stanton Bros has these other Yance men that they actually spread their lies and their propaganda to the underground bunkers, and they basically are keeping them in these underground bunkers, so that way the wealthy can keep the land to themselves. They can buy up more cities, have more space for them. And you kind of alluded to it, Adrian, early on that like it had definitely a lot of allusions to today, like the billionaires and the mega wealthy kind of control everything. So they actually control the surface of Earth, which is a cool idea. And It gets definitely
Well,
really complicated with all the intrigue and the mystery because then there's a lot
yeah,
of fighting and political backstabbing going on between the characters, and that's where it gets convoluted for sure. But I think those big ideas that Philip K. Dick had in this book are really great, and one of the reasons I really like the book. And then I would say probably the biggest thing, one of the most fascinating things to me was he could have made a whole book. He probably could have broke up this book into like 5 different books if he wanted to, because there's so many branching stories, and they probably would have served the story better. But do you remember there's a character called Gottlieb Fischer? He made these documentaries, like these fake documentaries. He had started this whole like propaganda thing like many years ago, like before the war.
right.
And he had spread lies about World War II and everything, about how FDR had visited. Oh no, it was FDR. I forget. Someone had visited. I think it was Hitler visited FDR to like have like truce
Yeah.
talks and everything. That was like fake. That was like a video documentary, but it was like fake. And he had made a bunch of these fake films. I really love that story. That was really interesting. And even this Gottlieb Fischer, this director, he had died, I guess, because there's also like interplanetary travel. He had died like trying to get to Venus or something. So
Right.
he didn't end up not making a bunch of he only made like a few films. I thought that backstory itself was so interesting and fascinating, and it was like we don't get a lot of that, but I thought that was a cool backstory with this overarching big story. So some of the things that I liked about it. So yeah.
Yeah, what gets me is that nobody seemed pissed off enough at learning the truth about what's really going on the
Mm,
surface. Like I was
I can see that.
thinking Nicholas was going to be, I don't know, losing his mind at
He probably, yeah,
discovering the truth.
yeah.
And nobody seems at all mad about that. And like, I don't know, like I feel like that left a sort of not a bad taste in my mouth, but it just made me feel like any normal person who's been living in these dire conditions in these underground tanks or whatever they're called,
Yeah.
if they discover, oh, we've been living
It's been a lie this whole time.
underground under false pretenses, what the hell, man?
Yeah.
And nobody paid, I think, and you can tell me if you think differently. Nobody really paid the price for that, which in a way is like appropriate considering like the super wealthy and powerful are never held accountable anyway. So I guess that's actually a realistic aspect about the
Yes,
book is that
maybe.
nobody is held accountable for,
I mean, okay,
you
so
know,
just to go to the end, so we learn that Stanton Bros gets defeated by David Lantano and I think Webster Foote, I think is involved at that point.
yeah,
So they actually have like this, fight, and we learn indirectly that David Lantano has won, and so now he's gonna like rule the surface. So you could say like there was consequences for Stanton Bros, who had like set this whole thing up, and he was like one of the guys keeping the people underground, and he didn't want people to come to the surface. So like he ended up dying. I guess you could say that's a consequence.
Well, and that's the other thing too is that the ending felt so passive to me.
It's
Like,
definitely like,
oh,
yeah,
Bros is defeated.
it's
Let's
abrupt.
move on now,
Yeah,
Bros. And then
yeah.
it's like, okay, so it ends on this sort of ambiguous note because
Mhm.
the lie is not really exposed at the end. It just, I don't know if he was just
It's hinted
saying,
at, yeah, so it's hinted at that David Lantano, who is also Talbot Yancey, who is
right,
also a Native American.
right.
Crazy weird. What I was up with Philip K. Dick, I don't know what he's doing. When he did the whole time travel. Okay, so let's break this down. David
Well,
Lantano's character.
explain that to me because I don't
Yeah, that
understand the
was
time travel
confusing.
aspect at
I
all.
completely forgot about it when reading about this character. I was like, this is bizarre. I was like, even for Phil K. Dick, what is he doing? Because, yeah, so Nicholas A. James he meets David Lantano, and so does Joseph Adams, the writer. So, and he meets this guy named David Lantano. He's like brilliant, he's smart, and we learn about him that he's actually Native American as well. He's part Native American. And I think he reveals it to, is it Adams or James?
I thought it was to
Yo.
Nicholas
Nicholas St. James.
towards like the third act
Towards
of
the
the
end. Okay.
book. Yeah.
So he reveals that he's actually Native American, and he actually lived 500 years ago. He was a native. Was he
Right.
Cherokee?
Actually,
Was he
he's
Cherokee?
600 years old.
600 years old.
I just finished it, and I
Like
like
crazy. Yeah, yeah.
again.
Yeah. So he's like 600 years old. He's actually Native American. He time traveled here for some reason. It's not fully like, it's very bizarre. He hints at that, like, because he's native, like, he had his land stolen, and now that he sees what's going on here, that people's land is kind of being robbed from them, like the underground. So I think Dick was trying to allude to that. But man, that was so convoluted. Weird. Like there did not need to be any time travel. So he just threw it in there, and that was like completely unnecessary. I heard Philip K. Dick. I think you texted me that he was like on drugs when he was writing this book or something. Did you text me that? And I was like, it's quite clear
Maybe.
that, okay. I've heard that he was on drug. I think he did some drugs in his time, like psychedelics and stuff. But I
Well,
was
it was
like,
the
I can believe
'60s,
it.
so that
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense. The
Yeah,
hippie
I could believe
revolution.
it with David Lantano's character. I don't know what that was. Like, he did not have to add the time travel element to it. That was just bizarre. They made Lantano's character very just like all he had to do was have him be this like guy that wants to, defeat Stanton Bros. He didn't need to throw in that. That was weird. Um,
Exactly. He could
yeah,
have cut out a lot of stuff and
yeah,
had a more clear, thorough line, which is
yes,
defeat bros at all costs.
hmm
And as far as Nicholas, like his whole journey should have been about obtaining, because he needed to obtain a artificial organ.
organ, pancreas,
And
I
it's
think.
like,
Yeah,
and by the way, I don't even remember who the organ was for. Like, I don't even
it
think it was
was,
anybody that was like,
it was a
like, why
side
not
character.
make it like, let's say it's his dying father or mother or
Yeah,
somebody
yeah,
close
yeah.
to him. It wasn't
Or
even,
his
even
wife,
anybody
who was
close to
married.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I'm like, what's the payoff really for him at the end there?
yeah,
Like, what is
yeah.
the arc that he had as a person, as a character? I can't think of one if I'm being honest, because he goes through
Yeah,
all that stuff, and in the end, he gets the organ to the guy, and it's like, oh, he's good now,
yeah, yeah.
and then the
And I
book's
came back
over.
and yeah, I came
Yeah, and I'm
back
just
from the
like,
war and like we're good.
you needed he didn't have it to me, for me again. Let's just say I have to always preface with it's my opinion because people will,
Right, right.
you know,
All
attack you
good.
for saying anything. But to me, there wasn't enough of an emotional payoff for Nicholas, and there wasn't a clear enough thorough line for like the entire book, because he had all these other stories weaving
Yeah.
in
Oh
and
yeah.
out. And
Tons
like,
of branching.
okay, I love the political intrigue. I love the power
Mhm.
struggle, because you have all these different factions. By the way, it's kind of like 1984, where you have like 4 or 5 big main factions, like, you know, how in
Yeah.
1984
Yeah.
Sienna and
hmm
I forget what else. You have
Yeah.
similar thing here in this book, but like, and there's political intrigue that's related to all that, but he just doesn't cement it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, good enough, and
Yeah.
it just felt meandering to me. Like that, like it really,
It
like
is.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm expecting a payoff for all these threads that he's setting up, and
hmm
there's no there. It just kind of ends. Like
hmm
the
Yeah.
last 30 to 50 pages are just, they're just, I'm like, this book's almost over, and like they haven't
Yeah.
really, I'm reading it and I'm like, I'm not seeing that many like payoffs on much yet.
hmm
And then
I would
by the
definitely
time
say
I
like
finished, it was just done. I was
yeah.
done with it. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
wait.
I'd definitely say like the emotional stakes for the reader are pretty low. Like you don't really feel connected to these characters. Like you said, like their motivations are kind of vague. Like he mentions
Yeah,
them, but there's not a lot of like suspense really. It's not really.
absolutely. You know,
It's
because
just kind of there.
to
They hear,
compare it
oh,
to
he wants this,
84,
he wants that, and that's it. And it's like, okay,
right. And, you know,
they,
and to compare it to 84, you know, Winston, we hear his thoughts, we hear his wants, his
right.
needs, his
You're with him the whole
desires,
time.
how he sees and the party, how he feels about the
Mhm,
party and his
mhm.
lot in life.
Yeah,
We didn't have. I don't feel like we had much of that with any of the
I guess
and that's
that's
the other
true.
thing
Yeah,
too. There's
yeah.
just too many there's too many characters.
Way too
Like,
many characters. Yeah.
and you
Well,
know, it would be fine if it was like an interesting, compelling enough like what's the word, ensemble.
yeah,
But I didn't. You can't do that 230 pages. That's hard. Like,
yeah.
he could have easily lost 2 or 3 characters maybe, and it would have been fine.
Oh,
But
sure. And yeah, that's definitely one of the biggest weaknesses. I actually texted you, Adrian, is like, this book should have been longer. Like, if he
right.
wanted all these characters, this is one of the few books on the channel. If I said, like, this should have been longer and he wanted to go more in depth with all these characters, it would have been way better to have like a 400-page book, to like go more in depth
He
with
could have done another
Rose
50 to
and
70 pages,
yeah,
50 to 70 more pages,
something
and then
more
I think it
depth.
would have wrapped up nicely.
Yeah, and hint at their
Um,
emotions. Yeah, their internal worlds need to be like, we need to hear their inner thoughts more. I feel like a lot of the focus was on the backstory and the setting and like the world, and he just had these characters living in this world, and so they end up fighting because they're in this like power struggle, but it's not really a good emotional payoff.
do
So
you think the story could have worked without the time travel aspect?
yeah, yeah. So you should just
Because
got
if
rid
you
of it.
take that out, what does it break? Do you know what I mean? Because
It's really one character, honestly.
right,
I
because
mean,
if
it's
we put
silly.
our writing caps
It's
on for a
silly.
second, right? You gotta,
Yeah.
like, when you're writing something. When I'm
Oh yeah.
writing something, whether it's an idea for a novel or a screenplay, mostly
Yeah.
screenplays, because that's mostly what I write. I'm always thinking about, if I change this element, what does that change downstream? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You're saying it only would change one character. Which character was that, by the way? I
It
can't
was David
remember.
Lantano, the Indian Native American. He had time
Okay,
travel.
so he wouldn't have then been 600 years old, so that changes that
Yeah,
aspect of him.
it
But what
changes
else
back
would it
there.
have affected? Like, could his character still work without the time travel aspect?
Yeah, because like it was just a thrown in motivation to make him like native, to make him like get back at like the white man sort of thing, I think. But he could have just he already had the power struggle between, all the other characters. Like there's also Vern Lindblom is another character, and Webster Foote and Stanton Bro, like all these other characters are fighting and work for bros mostly.
Right.
Um, yeah, I mean, it just would have been the same motivation. I think it would have cleaned up the character a lot too, because you could just have like David Lantano, because he's supposed to be this Talbot Yancey. Because in the underground, Talbot Yancey is kind of like this. I kind of envision him almost like 1984. Like he almost feels like Big Brother,
Big
'cause
Brother, right?
it's kind of a cool idea because like, oh, he's just speaking to these people underground. They see this face. He's this mysterious man called Yancey, and we learn that it's actually David Lantano's his real name. And so this Yancey is kind of also fake, but he speaks to the people and lies to them. Um,
Yeah, the idea of a sort of puppet master, or not puppet
mhm.
master, but like a puppet leader
Yeah,
that's used to spread propaganda and
yeah,
lies. I feel like I've heard of that somewhere.
yeah.
I don't know
I don't know.
where.
I probably didn't begin with this book. This is pretty early. This is like what, the 60s, like I
This is
think
the
in this book.
60s,
It's
yeah.
pretty early, So I don't know. I'm sure he picked it up from somewhere else, But I
Well,
still
I
love
was
that
reading
idea.
about it's sort of it was written in 64. It reflects sort of the Cold War anxieties of the era. The
Yeah.
idea that war with an opposing superpower, fallout shelters, propaganda. Yeah, and by the way, like I like the world building. As a matter of fact,
Mm.
I could see this being turned into a movie, but the movie being way better than the book in the sense
I
of
think
like
it
how
would
it's
be.
written and
Right.
visually. I was imagining a sort of like retro futuristic like technological aesthetic,
Mhm.
where kind of think about like every like instead of touch screens and digital things, it's like
Yeah.
buttons and levers and knobs
Yeah.
and dials and all kinds of
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Like I thought about that. I thought about Fallout the video game just because they were in an underground
Okay.
tank.
Yeah, a bunker. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
about
Maybe some
the book and
music.
TV series based on the book called Silo. Did you ever see Silo or read
I
those
did not.
books? I
Mm.
read the first book. I want to say that those books or that book and show and the Fallout show and movie, or at least the Fallout video games, were inspired somewhat by this, because
Okay.
to his credit, Philip K. Dick has inspired a lot of writers and
Yeah.
obviously a lot of great movies. But
Yeah.
so I appreciated all that. Again,
Yeah.
my problem wasn't so much with the world building. It was just, I don't know, the story just
Character
felt
motivations,
character
characters. Yeah.
motivations.
Everything was convoluted.
When it was when I started feeling like it was getting good was around the 50% mark. It was where Nicholas runs into those. By the way, you call them Leddies. I was calling them
Letties.
Leadies in my
Letties?
head.
I call them
The
letties. I thought they
Leadies are these robot things.
yeah.
He runs into them, and then like one of them, they're almost going to kill him, and then somebody else
Yeah.
kills
And he sees
them.
Talbot Yancey, which is David
It was
Lantano, but he
Talbot. It
actually
was David
destroys.
Lantano, right? That was
Yeah, yeah.
controlling. Yeah.
Mhm. So he
So
just
that was interesting. And then the other
yeah,
thing I thought was interesting was when what was the guy's name? There's so many characters in this. They
yeah.
like find
Yeah.
him, and then they sort of explain. They give him a breakdown of everything that's happened and that's going on. They're like soldiers, or I don't know. I forget what they
Is that
were.
when he's in one of the cities for a little bit? There's like a chapter where
Yeah,
he's
like
yeah, yeah.
they find or they
They
see
give him
him and
some
they like
backstory.
surround him. Yeah, they
Yeah.
give him backstory.
Yeah.
It's a very what
I
do you
thought,
call
see,
it?
like he could have, like, yeah, like that's the problem with this book because we go chapter to chapter and it keeps changing. Because I thought we would
Right.
meet those characters for a little bit because I was trying to remember. I read this book before. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, we'll spend some time here, and then we don't. We just like one chapter, and then on
yeah,
to these other
yeah.
guys. Okay, well these guys are gone now. Like,
That scene was exposition heavy, but it worked
yeah,
for me because like it gave me as a reader a nice like breakdown of
yeah, what was
to
going
understand
on?
that.
The big
And I
stuff. Yeah,
thought it was going to continue down
yeah,
that path, and then it didn't. It just
yeah.
keep like
And
you
he
said,
just
it just goes from one thing
I
to the
think,
next.
yeah, yeah. I think he either, yeah, he takes a ride from, I think Joseph Adams or Lindblom, and then he goes to meet Stanton Bros and goes talks with them, and then that whole intrigue happens. What did you think with the This is where the novel flips right here. So we also have there's this whole crazy conspiracy. So once it's known to the reader that this world is fake and there's this power struggle going on the surface, we have this character named Louis Runcible, and I guess he owns a lot of these buildings on the surface, and so he's trying to control the wealth and control and keep people safe. So he actually want. By the way, we never meet Louis Runcible. Kind of
He's
weird.
just
He's
yeah,
just there. He's in the
he's
back. I
just
don't know. Just a
yeah,
name. Kind of crazy. But anyway, this Runcible owns all these estates, and he wants people to come to the surface. So he actually wants to free people. Now he's against Stanton Bros. So Bros has a meeting with Limbaum and I think Nicholas St. James is there and I don't know if Foote is there at the time. But anyway, they have a meeting. Or I think it's Joseph Adams. It's Adams. It's the writer. It's Adams and Limbaum. They're talking to Bros, and he sets up a meeting. He says, "Okay, we gotta go take out this Runcible guy. The way we're gonna do it is like this." And he has this convoluted thing. So he's like, "I need you to build like they're talking about like Limbaum is going to build like have someone build and engineer these fake artifacts, plant them underground, and that way when a new dig site is being made, like, Runcible's people will run into these weird artifacts, and then someone will have to stop the build of these artifacts. And then it's so convoluted. It is crazy. And then because of that, Runcible will not be able to build his estates, and so he can't earn money, and like he'll get in trouble and he'll get arrested or something like that. And like he's like the whole thing. I was like, okay. I mean, I was just like, I'm going with this, but like, what the hell? Like, it was a lot. And I was like,
Was a lot.
yeah, what did you think of all
I
that?
I barely remember that thread. I
Oh
mean, there were
yeah,
so many threads to keep track of. I
that was one of
barely
the
remember
biggest
that.
compliments. I was like, what is this? Like, I think
Yeah,
I kind of feel like Dick was like really trying to go for some big political, and so he felt he had to make it conspiratorial and convoluted. And instead, it's just like, dude, just have him like try to kill the guy or something, or like, I don't know. And also like the issue was that like as you said, when Jane and Nicholas comes up on the surface, you kind of want him to like be settled for a moment. And instead, we get thrown into this big conspiracy about these other guys on the surface, and it becomes like their world. Well, they're vying for power now, and now it's very convoluted, and everyone's trying to kill each other. And it's like, okay, now we're doing this, and it just changes.
it changes a lot.
So
Like I said,
wow, it's
there
crazy.
was no like a clear enough storyline to follow.
Yeah,
Because it
it
sets it
changes.
up where Nicholas is you think he's gonna be the main character. You think it's gonna be about his struggle and discovery of everything going on the surface,
Yeah,
and that is part of it. But it's not even the main part of it. It's
no,
one facet
he
of
gets caught
all
up.
these other things happening
Yeah,
in the story, and
yeah.
and that's where. And you know what? Why I was so confused also was it was his writing style. I was bitching to you about
Mhm.
this. Oh, maybe I
Yeah, you
shouldn't say that.
talk about
I
his
was
writing
complaining
style.
to you about his prose, and I just don't like
Mhm.
the all these $10 words, and then like all his made up words like Megavac 6, and then like the tank that Nicholas was from is called the Tom Mix or something.
Tom Mix.
I'm like,
Yeah,
what? Why call it something? Why call it a name like
Tom
that?
Mix.
And like the one word that I still don't know how to pronounce, Demesne.
Yeah,
I
Demesne.
googled it.
Uh-huh.
It means domain, I think, is the
Domain. Okay.
origin. So
Okay.
I just started
Yeah.
saying domain in my head because I was like,
Domain.
is it
Yeah.
Demesne?
Demesne.
But it
Yeah.
just means domain.
Yeah.
And I was like, just say domain. Like
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
have to make. He makes up all these ridiculous words and phrases, and I'm just like, okay, so I need a glossary or something. And there was no glossary, by the way, at least not on the Kindle
No.
version. I don't know about
No.
the printed version,
Yeah. Yeah.
but like Dune was easier to follow, and that book is dense as hell.
That's pretty
You know,
dense. Yeah. That's
you know how many
long
made
and
up, yeah, you know how
dry.
many made up things are in
Oh
Dune,
yeah. Yeah.
and
Dune
I
is.
did not struggle with Dune nearly as much as with this book.
Mhm.
And Dune's a
Mhm.
longer book, by the way.
Yeah. Well,
And
With Doom, we spend time with the characters. Like
right,
here,
right,
like as you said, like it's not long enough. Like you're just jumping to like you don't know. Like I feel like we know Stanton Bros more because everyone hates him, and so we learn more about him and his backstory, and so you get a sense of him more. But like Limbaum is pretty important, but he then dies as well. So
right.
someone takes him out that ends up being Bros.
And,
Someone assassinated him. We had
and
to
by
try
the
to
way,
figure
Dune
that
has a
without
lot
some.
of characters too.
Oh yeah,
There's a
yeah,
lot of characters in
tons.
Dune,
Yeah. Mhm.
but he knows how to keep you with Paul Atreides mostly,
Yeah.
and then
He's the focus.
he's the
Always come back to him. It's
main
the
focus. He
focus.
doesn't have like a scene with
No.
Paul and then like 30 scenes in between him
Yeah.
and another character, and then he comes back to Paul.
Right.
Like no. And
Yeah.
for those of you listening that or watching that haven't read Dune, believe
Yeah.
me, it's a difficult book to get through.
It
But
is.
I
No,
did not
it's a good
struggle
book.
with it as nearly as much
Yeah, yeah.
as
Also, I
Penultimate
would say,
Truth.
yeah, like, so a good example of yeah, the character you're talking about, like, Lindblom he becomes important, like, halfway through, and you realize, like, he's, like, he's, like, kind of an assistant to Bros, but he agrees with Joseph Adams that Bros is, like, evil, but he's just going along with his conspiracies and his power plays. So he ends up dying, though, like, a few chapters later, and then another character that was only hinted at before, Webster Foote, who all these like leadys are called like footmen and like the soldiers. Now he becomes a character, and he like 3/4 into the book now he's a character where he's like, oh, and Webster Foote is a guy now, and he's like you learn more about him, and it's like he gets thrown in the mix, and it's just like,
Right.
dude, like I remember like when Foot came into the book, and I was like, damn, this is like, that's too much. Like I don't know what this guy's doing in this book. He literally should just been a background character because he's just like the controls the security and the robots, and like I don't know
Yeah.
why he threw him in. And he has to like investigate the murder of Limbaum, and I'm like, what is this? Like, just get to the main good stuff. Like what?
If I had
Um,
to adapt this into a script, I would
yeah.
cut out like 50% of the characters
Character.
in
I
this
know,
book.
yeah. You
You
could,
know?
you really could, like,
And I would write a
I would
better
say you could
story.
probably, I know, you probably could. I would say you could have like Nicholas St. James, the main character. You have Stanton
Bros,
Bruce is the bad guy, and you have David Lantano as
David
Yancey.
Lantano. Yeah.
Those are the three. I would say those are the three big ones.
Three big ones.
But of
And
course,
I
we
would
have
have made the
Joseph
guy that needs
Adams.
the fake organ. I would have made the guy back in the
Him
tank that
more
needs the
important.
artificial. I would have made him his dad or
Yeah.
something.
Okay. Yeah. Make it
You
more
know what I
important.
mean?
And then
Somebody,
like
something close to him. Go
yeah,
ahead.
and then even like Joseph Adams, who's supposed to initially be like the second main character, gets kind of like lost in the shuffle. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
where's like he's supposed to be like this big writer, and he's like writing scripts and stuff like that, and then he's impressed by David Lantana, and then he ends up in conversations with Bros and everything. And I don't know, his character had nowhere to go at the end, which was really kind of disappointing. Because like remember he goes with Nicholas St. James at the end to go back into the bunkers. Like, oh, I'm gonna go underground with you for some
Yeah.
reason, and then like he goes in with him, and it's revealed like at the end when Yancey David Lantana wins against Bros, like Bros is killed, and then Adams is like, "Oh, I want to go back to the surface now." I'm like, okay, like I don't know, like his character's like I don't know his motivations. I don't, that was yeah, too many characters for sure.
It
Poor
felt
motivation.
like Philip K. Dick. Imagine him as like a chef, and he wants to make a great
Mhm.
meal.
Yeah,
And instead of because
just
if you ever
throwing
watch
everything
any
up
cooking shows, like
together.
Gordon Ramsay always says, you only need like 3 to 4, maybe 5 ingredients overall. You can keep it simple and still make delicious, simple food. I feel like in this for this book, Philip K. Dick was like just out of culinary school, and he wants to make this impressive dish. So he
Yeah,
throws everything
I
into
was gonna
it,
throw
every
everything.
spice, every
Pretty much.
ingredient. And,
Yeah.
and by the way, on their own, they're all great. Like the themes that he has, like reality versus
Mhm.
illusion, illusion, truth versus perception, power,
Yeah.
control, propaganda, class division, and
Uh-huh.
alienation, ethics of this, time,
Yeah.
mortality, legacy, resistance, and possibility of change. Media, what do you call it? How do you say that word? Simulacra. I can't say that word.
Okay.
But all those are great themes on their
Yeah.
own, and he like tried to just jam them into a 230-page book, and it was just too much. And,
Yeah.
it
For
got
sure.
lost in the noise, in their own noise. I think you're not gonna
Yeah.
be able to taste each one individually,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're
I
all
agree.
just blending together into this mishmash.
Yeah.
To
And like
continue
yeah,
with
for
the
me,
cooking analogy.
yeah, yeah. And for me, like even like the Gottlieb Fisher thing, like that I talked about, like the supporting character, like that backstory is so cool that I feel like that could have its
Oh,
own really cool like backstory. Yeah, but like you're talking about all the convolutions and all the weird characters, but yeah, for me it's like you miss because like he has so many good things in here, but it's all mishmashed together. So like for me, the Gottlieb Fisher character, that director, is such an interesting idea. Like that could be a whole novel by itself. Like, this director, like I just want to learn about that character because like when I heard about that story, I was like, oh, that's cool. Like you can have this director who makes fake documentaries and becomes this like mythical figure, and like I think that would have been an interesting character arc right there. But instead, he's like just in the backstory, and you hear about his death and everything. I don't know. That story alone could have been probably carried a book in some sense, but
I think the idea of Talbot Yancey being this
Yancey's
fake,
really cool.
yeah, being this fake leader, president, whatever,
Hmm.
that really I would keep that element if I were to adapt
Yeah.
this,
Oh, that was great. Yeah.
and that would be like the midpoint twist, like, oh, Talbot Yancey is not real. He's
Yeah.
actually a fake puppet that is
Yeah.
used by the controlling class to
Yeah. Yeah.
spread the propaganda and the lies and all that, and
Yeah.
to maintain the status quo. Like,
They just make up speeches
yeah,
for him.
that works. And yeah, having like the Joseph Goebbels, is it Goebbels, right? Who was
Joseph,
Goebbels
yeah,
Hitler's
Goebbels.
propaganda
Yeah. Yeah.
guy?
Propaganda.
Like
Yeah.
I would keep that character, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
need to have a propagandist to maintain the lie that the surface is ravaged by war. Which, by
Yeah.
the way, I thought that was kind of interesting too, because if all these rich people control the surface and they're maintaining the lie,
Hmm.
like how many of them are there? They need all this free land and space.
Yeah.
Why would you want so much or need so? Is that part of the theme of like when you're at a certain level of power and wealth that
I
it's
guess
not,
just
it's
greed.
never
Yeah,
enough.
it's never enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say chalk it up to greed.
I
Yeah,
mean,
they want more
the
land, more.
current millionaire class is helping destroy the environment. So like,
Yeah,
when
yeah,
the Earth eventually becomes inhospitable to humans,
yeah,
it's gonna be pointless for anybody to want to live on the
yeah.
surface because
And it's funny too, because like the characters of the book, like Adams and Nicholas, they like zip by in these little cars. I forget what he calls them, but they have like these flying cars.
oh yeah.
Like
Oh,
they
what
zip
was the
by
word
in
for
like a
that?
couple
I
hours.
hated
It has
them.
a
A
weird name for
flapple.
it.
It was a flapple.
Flapple, yeah,
That was a
Flapple,
flapple.
yeah, Flapple. It's kind of a lame name.
Flapple pie.
Yeah,
I kept
it's
wondering, I'm
kind of
like, what the hell is a
it's a
flapple? And then
Flapple, yeah.
I had
And he
to
just describes their journeys like
through
super fast. Like,
context, I picked up, oh, it's like a
yeah,
flying
yeah,
vehicle thing.
right, right,
Got
yeah,
it.
yeah,
At
yeah,
least in Brave New World, that like they call them like heli something helicopters or
yeah. Hella, yeah,
and in Dune they call them ornithopters. Like,
yeah, yeah,
give me a
right,
name that's close to reality. Like, what the
yeah,
hell is
yeah.
a flapple? Sorry,
Flapple,
go on.
yeah, kind of weird, but. Yeah, interesting world. I wanted to ask you, Adrian. So since you didn't like it as much as me, do you have any questions about characters or other like any other questions that you have about the story in general that you were confused about? Anything like clarification that you wanted with the penultimate truth?
I mean, one thing I was a little confused by, or that I didn't fully understand, was the Bros had certain people killed, and I can't remember who
Mhm.
he had killed and why.
Okay.
So if you could explain that part to me, because I know he
Okay.
had
So
some people
bros,
murdered.
yeah. So like I said, bros wanted to take down Runcible, and so initially he had that plan to like put these artifacts in, so that way Runcible would get like arrested, basically. But while he was doing that, there was actually a really weird. But they mentioned this one character, and he dies within like a chapter. He's barely even there. It's like Robert Higg or something. I forget his name. But this guy is supposed to like
Yet
announce.
another character, yeah, that was
Yes,
killed.
just quickly announce he's
Forgot
important
about
because
it.
he's gonna announce the artifacts are fake in there, and then he's like immediately killed. Like, okay.
What are we at now? Like 12
So I know,
characters?
yeah. And it's revealed that Yancey, David Lantano, probably actually killed him, so he would stop. So he's against Bros. So like then David Lantano killed that guy to stop this whole conspiracy. So at one point you think the conspiracy is gonna go this way, but then this guy's killed, so it stops the conspiracy. And then we have to figure out who killed him and why. And then while they're figuring that out, we see that Lindblom is killed, and he was like the second in charge with Bros. And then people are trying to figure out, well, who killed him? And then there's a whole weird. That's where it got weird for me. Was there's a whole like another chapter or two where Foot comes in to investigate the death of Lindblom to see who killed him. And then we later hear, and it's pretty much revealed that Bros probably killed Lindblom because he knew too much. Because since Bros' initial plan got stopped by David Lantano, then Bros is like, oh, I gotta kill my own guys because he knows too much. So Lindblom like knew too much, so he took him out. So that's how I understood it. It's very confusing.
It is
It's
very
weird.
confusing.
Also Webster Foote has psychic powers too. That's thrown in there. I'm like, okay, shit.
I didn't pick up
I
on
don't know
that
if
at
you
all.
remember that.
I
He says
don't.
like because of my psychic powers, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, I don't even know. I was like, okay, man,
Yeah, again, it's too many
bizarre.
ingredients. It's just too
Yes,
many ingredients in the pot.
yes, yeah, yeah.
And that the other thing, I don't know about you. I have an issue where when I'm reading a book, if I'm not engaged enough, my
Mhm.
mind begins to wander,
Just
and
wandering.
my
It could be
eyes will still be
cool.
scanning the lines,
Right, and
reading
you're
the
like,
words,
what's
but
going on?
I'm not
Yeah,
processing it.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh snap! And now I'm like, let me really like try to process what I'm reading. And I struggled. I'm telling you, this book is only 230 pages,
Yeah.
and I struggle to just stay engaged. I would read it one chapter at a time. On the Kindle, it tells you how long a chapter is,
Mhm.
approximately like 14 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever. And I would get to like the 15-minute chapters, and I'm like, oh no. And I would get to like a 5 or 8 minute chapter. I'm like, okay, oh, that's easily digestible.
Mhm.
So I struggled, man. I struggled.
Yeah.
His prose,
Yeah.
his writing style, it was tough, and there was
Yeah.
so much going on, and I didn't pick up on the psychic
Yeah.
powers thing at all. Like
Yeah.
I'm not
It has
exaggerating. I
first, yeah.
didn't pick up on that at
Pretty
all.
crazy.
So,
Yeah.
and even if I had, I don't think it would have mattered. I
No,
don't think it
no,
would have
it's
changed
not
my,
particularly mature. No.
view on the
Pretty
book.
crazy.
So
No.
it's
Yep.
interesting because like so many movies, like we said at the beginning, have been based on his stories.
Mhm.
I like Minority Report and Blade Runner. Obviously, are my two favorites.
I read Blade Runner book, which is Electric Sheep, the novel.
Right.
That one is definitely more clear. You probably would enjoy it more. This one
Have
is
you read
like
Minority Report? Because I have
I have
that
n-
sitting on my shelf.
I have not read Minority
Okay.
Report. So.
Well, Minority Report, I love the movie, and
Good movie.
you ever go on? There's a website. It's like thriftbooks.com, and it's pretty cool because
Okay.
or Pango Books. Both of them are like used book
Okay.
apps, and like I was like, oh, Philip K. Dick. Like it just popped up like Minority Report. I was like, I want to get
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
and but now that after I read this book,
Now
I'm
that
not as
you're like, I'm
excited to
not so.
read a Minority Report.
You're like, should I
And
read this guy anyway?
yeah,
This guy's such a weirdo. Well, I will say, okay, the other challenge for you, Adrian, is like, I know you struggled with this book. Thank you for finishing it. You know,
no, of course.
so if you thought this book was difficult, you should
Uh,
give, if you want a real challenge, you should read Ubik by Philip K. Dick. Ubik is really interesting, really crazy. I think that one is probably one of the weirdest ideas I've like read while like while reading a novel. That book changes like several times. But I feel like he had I don't know what year he wrote that book, but like I feel like he had a better idea of how to tell his idea a little bit easier in that one. Even though like things are changing throughout, it's always like the one mystery continues along. Whereas this one is like there's too many motivations, too many characters, but like in that there's like a weird mystery and it keeps changing. But that's a really interesting book. So Ubik to me is like something that I would say if you want a real challenge, a real crazy interesting book, I think Ubik is probably a little bit better written. But he still has his weird style. Like even in Ubik, like it's weird, man. Like because he'll have like headings and chapters, and he like has these like products that are being sold that he doesn't really hint at what they are. So there's a lot of weird stuff in it. It is Philip K. Dick for sure. But I feel like it's less convoluted than this one. So
well, I mean, that's good to know. I'll be honest with you. I appreciate the recommendation, but I think I'm gonna take a little
yeah,
break from
take a break on Philip
PKD.
K. Dick for a while.
I
Yeah, yeah.
I
Why
have
not?
Minority Report. I think if I
Okay.
ever
Yeah.
dare venture into PKD
Dive into that one.
territory, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
do Minority Report.
He was notorious. He was a drug user, and like I think he was
I mean,
notorious
that's
for
fine.
doing.
Some of the best works of art have
Yeah.
come from people who were blitzed out of their
Well,
minds.
yeah. And like you can tell this guy had the ideas. He's got some great ideas even in this one, but it's just like yeah, too
Uh,
many ingredients in the pot for sure.
I
So
kind of wish it
sit
was
down.
more dystopian.
Mm.
It didn't feel dystopian enough for me. Like
Yeah.
it didn't have
Not
the
really.
same dystopian touch as 84 or even Brave New World, which is dystopian, not as harsh as 1984, but
Yeah.
I felt it more in that in Brave New World than I did in this book. Oh, I
Yeah.
wish it would have had more.
I
I
think
don't know. The
rather
stakes weren't high enough.
yeah, I would say like the tension. The problem is like he preferred ideas and he preferred ideas over tension. So like he would just throw out another idea rather than add to the tension. And so you're just like, well, this is another idea I have to think about now. What does this mean? And then by the time you know that, something else happens, and so it's just another ideas, just like with the oh, this character has psychic powers, oh, this character is time traveling, and he's just throwing out ideas at you, and you're just like, dude, like give me some extra conflict and tension, and like tell me why the character is doing what they're doing, and give me some suspense. But it
Yeah.
lacks that for sure.
I, if I were to adapt this into a script, I would have like a ticking clock where Nicholas has to get that organ back to
A certain
his
time,
dad in the tank
yeah,
before a certain
because
time where he just dies. You
yeah,
know?
yeah, because it is weird. Because like by the end of the book, when Nicholas St. James actually, after all this political intrigue and Stanton Bros is killed, he comes back to the underground bunker, and I had forgotten that like oh yeah, he wanted this organ for this guy.
Right.
It had been like 2 weeks or something. I forget the time frame he had. I don't remember. But then I was like, oh yeah, like he needed to deliver this thing, and it's just kind of like thrown in at the end, like to complete the book. And I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. That was important. Like I guess it's another thing.
Exactly.
So
It's like,
it's
oh,
almost like you have to flip the book. It's like, well, I'm gonna make this 200 pages.
he's like, I gotta wrap up this
Yeah,
storyline because this is literally just the
right.
start of this entire character's journey
Yeah,
throughout the
that was just
book.
like, oh yeah, I gotta finish the book now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's penultimate truth, David. I mean,
Yes.
I don't know what else. Like I said, there was things I appreciated, mostly like
Mhm.
the themes that he had in the story, the
Yeah.
world building. I thought was great. I could really see how it might have inspired Fallout and Silo as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think Silo did it better as far as
Hmm.
underground societies going to
Yeah.
the surface and whatnot.
Hmm.
At least the first. I've only read the first book and watched the first season
Yeah.
and a half of the show,
Okay.
and then I played Fallout. Not all the games, just like the forget which one. And the
You
show
play
is great.
you play New Vegas?
No, I haven't actually.
I
I've
play
heard
New
that
Vegas.
one's really good.
Yeah.
The Fallout show, if you haven't watched it, David, I highly
Yeah, I've
recommend
heard
it.
good things about it. I've heard good
It's really
things.
good. It's
Mhm.
if this book had more of a comedic undertones, I feel like it would have had even more inspiration to follow,
Maybe.
because Fallout is
Yeah.
like dark,
Dark comedy,
dark
sort of.
comedy, and
Yeah.
a little bit of action, a little bit of,
Yeah.
intrigue and
Yeah. Yeah.
political,
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, this book doesn't
machinations.
have this book doesn't have too much action either. It's more just intrigue and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah.
Could have used either more action or just more suspense, but it
And
is what it
again, Dune did the political thriller stuff better.
yeah.
And that's such a dense book. I'm
Hmm.
honestly shocked that I had a harder time reading this than Dune, but
Hmm. Interesting.
it is what it is,
Yeah. So what would be your star rating for Penultimate Truth?
Oh, well,
Five. Yeah.
by
Would
the
this
way, before I
would this
give
be
you my
one?
star rating,
Okay.
I'm on Fable and Storygraph,
Okay.
which if you're, for those of
Fable.
you who are book
Oh,
lovers
check.
out there, you
Yeah.
probably already heard about Storygraph, which is great.
Yeah.
I like Storygraph a lot. Fable's also really great. I love the interface. I love the way it just looks, and also
Mhm.
I like the book tracking on that a little bit better than Storygraph. But Rick, if you're not already on there, David and anybody else, yeah, check out
Yeah.
Fable. It's a cool little app. So I gave it on both Storygraph and Fable. I gave this book 2.25 stars out of
2.25.
5. Two,
You can
two and a
do
quarter out of 5.
20.
Yeah,
You can do two and a
yeah,
quarter on the
two and a
stars.
quarter. Actually,
You
you
can
know
do
what? Why don't I just, since we're here,
You can do
let
two
me
and a
just read
quarter.
you my
Oh yeah, give us
review.
your review. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's
So here's my
hear
review.
your
This is quick.
varnished review.
This will be an edit point because I gotta pull it up.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so here's what I wrote.
Yes.
I've never struggled so much to finish a 230-page book. What a slog. What a chore. The prose tried so hard to be something. I'm not sure what, but it was bad. PKD kept reaching for $10 words when simple language would have done the job.
Hmm.
There were too many characters, and I hated most of them. The one I didn't hate barely got any page time, Nicholas.
Mhm.
Just when it seemed like the story was finally going somewhere, it drifted aimlessly again until it just ended. The
Yeah.
ideas are great, though. Dystopian world where most people live underground, believing there's a nuclear war raging above while the rich live comfortably on the surface, maintaining the lie. That's relevant, maybe more now than ever. The powerful manipulating the truth to protect their wealth? That hits hard. But the execution fell flat. PKD is hailed as one of the greats in sci-fi, and this is my first read from him, which doesn't bode well for Minority Report sitting on my shelf. Is this clunky, overreaching style what I can expect from all of his work? Oh, brother,
Somewhat.
I might never pick up another one. It's a shame, because the ideas had potential, but in the end, this book left me completely unsatisfied.
Okay.
So
Right.
that's what I wrote on
Well,
Fable.
yeah.
Which
Solid
has,
review. Yeah, I
by
like
the
your
way, the biggest core difference. I'm not paid by Fable to say this. The
okay.
biggest core difference between Fable and like Storygraph is that Fable has more of like a algorithmic social media style feed.
Yeah, I see.
So like how you'll go on like a Substack or Threads or Twitter. Not really Blue Sky so much, but it has like that sort of like algorithmics, which is
Yeah.
fine. But
Yeah.
that's the biggest difference, and there's a lot of sleepy people on that app as well,
hear
dude.
you.
So you're
Oh,
gonna
okay.
fit right in, my
Yeah,
friend.
yeah. Well, this is what you get after reading Penultimate Truth. You go sleep, man. Use it for a pillow or something.
Yeah,
I'm
no, I
trying to
like
aid
to
you deeper,
complain.
but
I like to complain. I'll read. I read.
uh,
I always say like I read a lot of sci-fi. I read a lot of dystopian and like techno thrillers. But I
yeah,
read everything, dude. I read. I'll read almost any
right,
genre except maybe
for sure.
Western and romance.
Yeah,
I read Stoner. Have you read Stoner by John
I
Williams?
have not. You
That
mentioned
is
that one.
a slow burn book if I ever saw one.
Yeah,
But it's so beautifully written that you won't get bored, and I didn't
okay.
get bored. I'm
Yeah,
surprised. So, but yeah, I'll read everything. I'm glad I read this book. I'm not. I don't. I like it to complain, like I said, but in the end, like I'm glad I read it.
yeah,
My first foray into Philip K. Dick. So
yeah.
not too bad, David. What are your final
It,
thoughts?
well, his prose is definitely clunky. That's not the best part of the book. Too many characters, convoluted. Having said that, though, I love the big ideas. I love the world building. I like the idea of the underground bunkers and the government lying. I love the Yance Man idea. And I like the Gottlieb Fisher character. He's like this documentary guy that makes up these lies. So I'm definitely a big idea guy, and I think Philip K. Dick strikes that for me. So like that's why for me it's definitely more manageable. But definitely his style, like if you did not like this, his style, it's pretty much like this. I would say this one's probably his most convoluted though. He doesn't usually have this many characters, so that will probably save you for some of the other books. But definitely convoluted. That's his style, and he's not a page turner. He's an idea man. So I would give it about 3 out of 5 just because I love the ideas. But
Oh,
all your criticisms are definitely
valid.
worth noting for sure. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and to do a quick craft segment here, I read Stephen King's book on writing several times, which
Mhm.
for those of you that are writers out there, please, if you haven't, On Writing by Stephen King is fantastic. It's half
Mhm.
autobiography, half craft.
Right.
And
So
one of the things he says in that book is if a simple word works just
yeah,
as
just put it
well,
in.
just
Yeah,
go
just
with
use it.
that. You don't
Yeah.
have to do these great, big, flowery $10 words, like I said. So,
Yeah, one other word that he fell in love with, like I actually learned it from Philip K. Dick, was that in this book, the word simulacra. Did you catch that word?
yeah, what does
Simulacra.
that mean? I'm
It
what's
means like a copy. It means like a copy, like a hologram or a copy.
Oh,
But
okay.
he fell in love with that word clearly, and he used it a few times here, but he didn't really need to. And I was like, simulacra. I was like, okay, like we're using this word. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
he loves to use throw in a big word here and there. That's what he does.
you
So
know what's funny about us, like authors from different eras? Like sometimes you'll read, like I read a chapter of The Count of Monte Cristo,
Mhm.
and like that book is written in like the 1800s,
Yeah,
but like it feels like it could have been written today. But then when I was reading Penultimate Truth, I'm like, what? When did this come out? Like the 20s or something?
it's funny.
It's 1964. It came out in
Yeah,
19 like it came out around the same
not
time
that old.
as
Yeah, yeah,
1984 and Brave New
yeah,
World. Like these are
yeah,
like some of the top sci-fi
yeah,
dystopian writers of that era. And
yeah,
his language, man, it just did not
yeah,
do it for me. So
yeah. He's a man of the time. The '60s were the the free spirit.
yeah. But
Driving sex.
I do have to be thankful that thanks to Philip K. Dick, we got Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Blade
I
Runner
mean, you can tell his
2049.
ideas are great, and I
Yeah.
almost think like he's better as an adapted because I think he clearly struggles with like character and motivation and suspense and like storytelling and like page turning, but I think he's a writer that with such great ideas, adaptations are where it's at for him. So I think you'll see more of his great works just done in different voices that have a better way to like carry suspense and tell us the character motivations properly. So he's great for adaptations. So.
Yeah, and some mediums just work better for certain types of stories
Mhm.
than others,
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I think that's why Blade Runner is such a great movie.
Yeah.
And Minority Report as well.
Hmm.
And that movie has its issues, but that's still one of my favorite movies of all time. Like, I love that movie.
Minority Report.
Yeah, that's why I bought the book, because
Okay.
I'm like, after all
Oh,
these years, I should read the book.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we'll see how that goes
yeah.
now.
It's gonna be a very different experience. I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's Penultimate Truth.
Yes.
That's the book, David. What are we doing for the next episode? Let's tease. Let's give them a
Uh,
little
oh
teaser
yeah.
right now.
Teaser. Well, I'm probably gonna read a science book of some kind. I'll have to pick which science book I'm gonna. Uh,
Like a nonfiction?
read. Nonfiction. I'm thinking nonfiction. I'm gonna bore you guys with nonfiction. I'm just kidding.
That's
I love
fine.
science, so I gotta bring the science facts. So I'm the
What are you
professor.
currently reading is probably a better question.
It's what's the name of it? It's we don't. I think it's called We Don't Know. I forget. It's something about we don't know. It's all science facts that we do not know. So like it goes off into dark energy, dark matter, what we don't know about galaxies, what we don't know about atoms. So it has all the different science effects that we do know and then things we don't yet know about them. So it's trying to like it's like at the frontiers of knowledge. And it's actually very cartoony and very funny. So I'm reading
But
that
that's
one.
good. I mean, as a science YouTuber
Yeah,
yourself, I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that's good
So
that
a lot of my
you're.
questions will come from there. I'm doing like
Yeah,
trivia questions on my YouTube channel right now, so that's been helping my channel a little bit. So I'll probably gain more questions from this book that
nice.
I'm reading. So
I'm wrapping up the seventh book in the Expanse series,
okay,
Persepolis
expense.
Rising.
Okay,
I'm like this close to being done.
yeah.
I'm reading American Psycho.
Oh, okay.
A friend of mine was
That'll
like, "You
be
should read it. You
interesting.
should read. I'm gonna read it. You should read it." I'm like, "Sure, I'll read it."
Okay,
I'm
how's
reading
that one so far?
it's good. It's really good actually.
Okay,
It I could see obviously how much they took from the book directly for the movie, and I love the
yeah.
movie. And
Okay,
I'm like 20% in, and it's like I'm enjoying it so far. It's
yeah,
got some language that you can't say and out loud, especially these days. But
yeah.
obviously it's part of the characters. I'm reading another book, a short book called Recitative, which is I forget what it's even about. It has to do with the fact that like there's two characters, they're both women, and the author doesn't tell you what race they are. All you know is that one of them is white, one of them is black, and then they sort of like the story just the whole idea is that you don't know which one's which, and you try to guess just based on context, right? So
Yeah.
I thought that
Okay.
was interesting.
That's
And
interesting.
then I'm listening to another, so it's an audiobook,
Uh,
this one that I'm like halfway through. It's called
Okay.
Pimp by
Okay.
Iceberg Slim. And I never heard of this. I forget where I even heard about it from, but
Okay.
it's literally about a guy who's a pimp and how he
Okay.
becomes a pimp and the
Is it
lifestyle. And
non? Is it fiction or?
it is fiction, and
Okay.
well, it's fiction, but the guy that wrote it was actually a pimp back in the
Oh, I
day.
see. Okay.
And what I like about that one is that the language is so good. There's certain things, certain phrases and words, and like that he uses. It's like, oh, that was the vernacular at the time. But like through context, you get it, and it's like I don't know. It's very
Yeah.
colorful, very
Okay.
colorful. But yeah, so that's what I'm reading.
Okay.
So I'll have to pick one of those
You pick one of
for
those. Yeah. Yeah.
on our
Yeah.
next episode. But
We'll have a big
the
variety.
Expanse series is those books are 20 hours long, and I burned through them. So
Okay.
I love those. I love that
You know,
series. If
you had
haven't
mentioned
already.
what we might do at some point is you mentioned Dune. I read the first like I think I've read the first like two or three. I forgot if I read the third one. But what would be kind of interesting is if you ever want to dive into like a Dune book because there's like 20 Dune books now. I was kind of interested to pick up like a newer Dune book like at some point just to see like his son and like someone else had like have taken off his series and I was kind of interested to read like one of them just to see where this series has gone. So if you're ever interested in reading one of those, maybe we could dive into that too.
I've only read the first
First
Dune.
one.
I'd
Okay.
be interested in reading. I heard that after like the third or fourth book, it kind of goes
Yeah.
off the
Yeah,
rails.
that's
So
what I heard. Yeah.
I'd consider reading the second one, sure.
Okay.
So,
Sure.
but yeah, that's it, David. That's the show. That's the Book Brothers podcast. David, where can people find you?
Find me on YouTube, Professor Pixel. I got YouTube, I got Blue Sky. I'm doing lots of fun science content on there. And also check out my book, which is actually better written than Philip K. Dick's Penultimate Truth. Project Red Planet is available on
Well,
Amazon.
your book is funny, at
Yes, it's
least. You know
funny
what
and
I
it's
mean?
better written. There are a lot of characters, but not as convoluted, I
You
don't
do
think.
have a lot of characters. You
Yeah,
do,
yeah.
but you're right. It's not convoluted. You
Yeah.
have one main storyline with
Yes.
other intersecting things coming
Yeah.
in and out. But
Yeah.
it's all groovy, baby. This
Yeah.
book,
I
not
feel
so
I feel
much.
better about it. I was like I can feel better. I was like, well, at least mine's more clear than this book. And this got
Exactly.
published, so
Yeah. You can find me at Books Too Big on TikTok. I'm gonna, release clips from this show on there. I have done that already. So, you can find me at Boots Too Big everywhere else. I do a podcast called the Never Seen It Podcast. It's a movie discussion show, and we're everywhere on that. We're on YouTube primarily, TikTok, and Instagram. Of course, wherever you get podcasts from. So. That's my other show, and yeah, David. I
Yep.
think we did it. Anything
Yep.
else? Any last words from the gentleman?
see you next time for more science content, more science fiction coming up. So.